Hi guys, so I just finished 72 hours of water fasting. So I've completed 3 days of water fasting. So day three was very tough for me. I was feeling very giddy since morning, had a lot of nausea. Uh, I felt like I'll puke. I did not even feel like drinking water throughout the day. So let's see how this progresses. So, in today's video, I wanted to talk about my history of ankylosing spondylitis. So, it all started back in the year 2015 while I was working for Amazon at Swansea in Wales, United Kingdom. I had developed a lot of swelling in my left feet. It turned completely black and I could not wear any kind of footwear. Somehow I managed to visit doctors, drive my car over there during that period of time. So doctors over there, they offered me steroids and I wanted to avoid it completely. My condition, it just got worse and I went back to India on a wheelchair. I underwent 3 months of homeopathy treatment in Nasik and I was completely cured. Back to London and I resumed my job in London office. So while I was working there, I had my second attack where I could not bear any kind of light in my eyes. One of my eye, it turned completely red. It was extremely watery and I had to cover my entire eye with like a thick cloth to avoid exposure to light. So doctors over there, they asked me to take painkillers every hour. They gave me some eye drops and they asked me to continue my job. It was very difficult for me to work in that situation because the pain was just horrible. I used to get lightning kind of pain around my forehead, back of my head, and it was just like unbearable. I decided to go back to India. I went back to Nasik. This time the medicines, they just did not work for me. I remember used to live in a dark room where my eyes were covered with like thick cloth or blanket. I could not even bear like 0.01% of light. So I never wanted to visit an eye specialist because the eye specialist wanted to like flash some lights into my eyes for some checkup, and the amount of uh, pain that I had, but the kind of pain I used to get with exposure to even little bit of light was uh, horrible, and I never wanted to visit an eye specialist. But after 2 months of suffering, I somehow went to an eye specialist, somehow went through the procedure. It was very painful and got some eye drops. And after 4 months of suffering, I think I became normal. And then I got back to London. So before going back to London, I consulted with an Ayurvedic doctor in Mumbai and I switched to Ayurveda. I was working in London. I got my third attack. I had a lot of swelling in my left arm. So over here, I had lot of swelling, and I could not lift my hand. I became like handicapped. That's when I thought that there's something terribly wrong in my body, and I need to seriously address it. So I decided to quit my job. I decided to quit London. Honestly, I never wanted to quit because, like everyone, I had my career dreams. I wanted to buy a house in London, but I guess destiny had some other plan for me. So one of my childhood friend in London, Apeksha, she asked me to visit a village in Chennai. So one of her relative had similar condition like mine, and they did some diet control and oil pulling method, and they cured their disease. She said that it's been 20 years and the symptoms never reoccurred. So I moved back to India. I visited that village in Chennai with my father. Gave me some oil and gave me a diet chart. So every morning I had to drink that oil. It used to smell horrible. I used to puke after drinking that. Posing drinking that oil, had lots of motions throughout the. Could only eat, if I remember it correctly, rice, moong dal, onions, puffed rice, and bottle gourd. So I did that course for like 5 months. And after going through deep detox, I recovered. Uh, then I decided to like launch my business venture in India, so I was preparing for that. In the meantime, I got married and I moved to US. So post taking that oil pulling treatment, I was fine for 1 year. But after I moved to US after marriage, I got another attack. I collapsed again. I had a lot of pain in my hip area. I had difficulty walking, so I went back to India. And when I moved to India, my entire back, my entire shoulder was frozen. My legs were badly swollen, and I was completely bedridden. I remember my father used to lift me in his arms to take me to washroom. I was in that bad condition, and I lived in that bad condition for like 3 months. So once my condition started improving a little bit, I decided to go to Jaipur and consult a 93-year-old Vaid over there. So, so when I met Veggie in Jaipur, he gave me few medicines and he gave me few medicines, but he never answered any questions of mine. Like, I tried to ask him, like, what is the root cause of my disease or how long it will take to cure. He never used to answer that, and I was not happy with that. The only thing he used to tell me is like, you just stay happy and I'll take care of the medicines. So after 2 months of treatment, I got fine. Explained to me what food I should take and what food I should avoid. He told me not to eat cold food, refrigerated food, frozen food, just eat fresh food. So he was the first person who talked to me about like food that was harming my body. Suppose that I came back to US again, and after few months, I had another attack. My body was developing a lot of cough. This time I had uh, hip pain again. So I went back to India. I went to Jaipur. Stayed in Jaipur at my Masi's place for like 4 months along with my parents. In treatment, and after 4 months, I got better. I also, in the meantime, consulted top rheumatologist in Mumbai, and she offered me steroids and DMARDs. So I tried to ask her like what was the root cause of my pain and how can I heal it without these drugs, because these drugs had serious side effects. They could damage my kidney and my system. So I think she got offended by my question. She asked me to just leave her office and asked my father to take me to a psychologist. So I moved back to Bay Area and I found an Ayurvedic doctor here in Bay Area. I was consulting Dr. Namita Pathak, and she's like very good. As a person also she's very good, and as a doctor also she's very good. She answered all of my questions and made some dietary modifications. She did not put me on a detox straight away. She answered all of my questions and made dietary modifications. So she used to sit down with me and brainstorm with me what might be the cause of my pain, and what kind of things we could try to eliminate that pain. So under her treatment, I was fine for 2 years. To be honest, I was also in extreme depression. So I wanted to end my marriage. To be honest, I wanted to end my life at one point of time. But after consulting with Dr. Namita, I got my confidence back. I planned for a baby. I had a baby. My baby is like one of the biggest blessing in my life after my parents, my husband, and my siblings. So everything was going normal, everything was smooth. And last year in November, I collapsed badly. I had lots of swelling in my feet, in my knees, I had lots of inflammation around my jaw area, my entire thighs were badly swollen. So I was again almost in a bedridden position. I could not get out of the bed. I had to go to hospital on third floor, and I do not have a lift in my society. So I was in horrible pain. So even if anyone touched me, I felt acute pain in my body. So I somehow managed to get out of the bed and sit on a chair. And my father and Kamalpreet uncle, they lifted the chair and carried me downstairs. Somehow I managed to sit in the car, and I was rushed into ICU. In ICU, I sat alone on a wheelchair for like 5 hours. My family was not allowed to stay with me. After few hours, the guard duty changed. So there was an Indian lady, and my husband explained my situation to her. She allowed him to visit me. My husband took me to washroom and he gave me home food. ICU for like 5 days. I used to pee in bed. It was very bad. I took oxycodone, NSAIDs, lots of painkillers were injected into my body. It was, I can't explain. Suppose that episode, my parents took me to India and I decided to switch to allopathy to live a normal life. So I met a rheumatologist in Aurangabad, which is my hometown. He gave me DMARDs and asked me to check on my kidney every 3 months. I came back to US. I was taking DMARDs every alternate day. I was not taking it on a daily basis, to be honest. So after coming back to US, in like few months, I lost vision in my left eye. So I went to eye specialist. They gave me some eye drops because of which I got my partial vision back. Then they asked me to continue steroids, and I said no again to steroids. So my husband, he's been following intermittent fasting and plant-based whole food diet for quite some time. He follows Lalit Kapoor, who runs a plant-based whole food diet group here in South Bay Area. So he saw a lot of people recovering from different kinds of diseases, like they were able to reverse their diabetes, they were able to reverse their blood pressure, etc. So he kind of like insisted me that I give it a shot. So I started intermittent fasting and I switched to plant-based whole food diet. And within a month, I remember I got my entire vision back. 3 months, I did intermittent fasting and I did this plant-based whole food diet. But it did not help me reduce inflammation in other parts of my body, like my knee, my leg, my toe area. So while I was doing intermittent fasting, I stopped taking DMARDs. And once I stopped taking DMARDs, the disease, it hit me with more force. The pain was so horrible that I was again in a state of like visiting ICU. It was horrible, but somehow I decided I'll not go to ICU this time. Managed it all at home only with plant-based whole food diet and intermittent fasting. Slowly, the symptoms and the pain, they reduced, but it did not help me to recover completely. So one of my friend, he stays in the same society and he had a autoimmune condition. So he came to visit me and he told me that he tried water fasting and he does that periodically, and it has helped him recover completely. It's helped him. It's helped reduce his pain. He's not taking any more steroids. And he said to me that it's not an overnight process. It takes months. Like it took him like 4 to 5 months to get back to a healthy state. So that's when we decided that I'll also do water based fasting. And that is when I decided that I'll do it under um, doctor's observation. Reason behind this was that I get acute pain in the night and the pain is horrible. And every alternate night I take meloxicam. It's like an anti-inflammatory drug because the pain is just unmanageable and I can't avoid it. Doctors here at True North said that once I'll be admitted into the hospital, I'll have to stop taking all my medicines or any kind of drug when I start water fasting. And I was not sure like how the pain intensity would be at that point of time, whether I'll be able to do or sustain water fasting at home or not. So I decided to do it under doctor's observation. So this was in short my pain journey. Thank you for listening. And like I said, I'll keep you guys posted on my water fasting journey. That's it for now. Good night.